Matt, welcome back to another episode of Project Cast. What's going on in Oregon?
Ooh, Oregon is great, man. Fall's coming around. The leaves are looking beautiful. The weather is, I'm not gonna lie, it's chilly.
All right. Well, today we got a good question for you on our Project Cast. We are combined on a cold call methodology with a scripting and AI coaching software, all centered around cold calling. No one has ever seen anything like this before. And so we're excited to launch this. We're in a beta phase right now with kind of a closed group to give us some feedback on the software, but it's just created so much great conversation around the need for coaching, the need for script methodology and foundations. And so we just been talking about that every couple weeks here. My question for you, Matt, as the kind of creator of this, is why do you think that there's a need for a software focused around messaging, kind of script execution, and coaching for cold calling?
That's a good question. I appreciate you asking that. And when it comes to cold calling, there's three things you need to fine tune and evolve: pace, your tone, and your pitch. Those are the three things you need to be at 10 to be a good cold caller. And right now, the only way to create your pitch and practice your pitch and share your pitch is to write it down, right? You got to write down your pitch,
Mhm.
give it to somebody. And the only way to do that is with a Word document. I ask people time and time again, what do you use to write down your script? They say Word document. Okay, great. So what happens when your best sales rep figures out a new way to start a pitch or to overcome an objection or to close? Do they update the script? No. It's just in their head. And then the script that
Yeah.
you made becomes outdated. You're giving new employees outdated scripts. And it's just this mess of a culture and of a system around one of the most important parts of a cold call conversation, which is that pitch. So creating a software that can host your scripts, that can listen to your conversations, see if people are following the script, and ultimately can update the script based on best practices is something that's going to be extremely valuable in the market and help align teams and then help onboard teams quicker, help train people quicker.
And how do you imagine that happening with a software versus maybe just with a Word document, or paper? Like, what do you think about a software would help the SDRs and sales teams to make it kind of a more fluid approach
Yeah.
to having access to that type of information and being able to build on it?
The biggest thing is the fact that the software is listening to the conversation as well as housing the script. So,
Mm,
two things is script adherence. Are people actually following it? Because you can spend all this time making a beautiful script that you think is great, but are people actually saying that in the conversation? Is that what's actually converting people in your conversation? Yes or no? Most people say, I don't know. I got to listen to the 1,000 hours of recordings in my 40-hour work week to figure out if my sales reps are actually saying this thing
mhm.
that I think is special. So, there's that part, and then there's also the part of the feedback loop. We need to constantly update our message, figure out the best practices, maybe the new buzzwords or the buzz kills that we were talking about before, and constantly update this message. And when you get to a place where you do have a living document that's updating on best practices, it's not just a script anymore. It's really the life of why someone would want to use your product. And you can use that to do anything.
Amen to that. I was going to say, a script never ends the way that it starts because you're right. It's living and breathing. It's an interactive function. It's not a internal process. It
Mhm.
is really based upon the feedback from the market. You're balancing that as well as the performance of your team. So it's quite a lot to manage.
And then eventually you'll get to different personality types of people you're reaching out to, different objections versus
Mhm.
the time of the year, and writing all that down and telling your sales reps, okay, use this document now or use this now. That's just not manageable. And having this AI system that can take that lift off your back and empower your sales teams with the right messaging at the right time is something, like you said, is unheard of and will be extremely valuable.
That's incredible. What are some of the key KPIs or those topics that you should be aware of when kind of tuning knobs? What are the labels on the knobs in the AI coaching that sales reps or leaders can go and evaluate to then loop back into improving upon their message?
Within Suede, we have the ability to understand where people go off track, off script, and understanding those like key points is going to be extremely helpful for you to fine tune your script or really just create a talk track where people can have wiggle room within their conversations and lead the conversation a certain way. So one KPI is where your script go off track. Another one is your objection handling rate. Are your rebuttals actually working or not? And then
Wow.
something that's not necessarily a part of the scripting part, more of just the sales rep, sales etiquette, is how your sales reps are sounding over the phone. That's a KPI that everybody is tracking qualitatively, but not necessarily quantitatively. So, how many filler words are people using? Are your sales reps cutting off your prospect or talking too fast? I'm training a sales rep right now that really likes to talk fast. That's just inner personality. I'm like, hey, we got to slow down. You're coming off a little bit too rushed, and that's all part of that tone and that pace part, and that's another KPI people need to pay attention to.
It's cool to see kind of the overall strategy of helping team members and then kind of dialing into what those knobs are to help. Something that's not available in a Word document, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just everyone can see that the Word document could be just the beginning. It has its flaws. It's one of those things that you have to make work for you that's not made for you. And I'm hoping
Yeah.
to build Sway to a point where people are like, yeah, this is it.
Absolutely. And I know, look, we've been on Google Docs forever with our scripts, and we've really had to work hard to utilize the scripts in a very succinct, templated way in order for our team to learn how to use them quickly. Otherwise, it could be clunky. They don't know where to find things. And so, one of the first things I was attracted to with Suede was you'd never think of how should a script best be laid out if you could possibly imagine it. And I remember seeing the first demo from you and just thinking, this is incredible to have all of your functions in one page without having to scroll your finger or jump around. You simply press buttons to have that information accessible at any time, no matter where the adventure of the conversation goes. So not only does it provide that coaching and feedback, which Word docs do not, it also is laid out in a way that takes away some of the confusion during a call, especially when you first get started. You want to take away as many blocks as you can, and you have to be precise in cold calling. And so this provides your foundation and guardrails for you to be as precise as possible.
And precision allows you to create a team that is all aligned on the message and allows you to onboard people quicker and create a culture that is collaborative, not just individual, everybody doing their own thing and sort of sporadic.
Like crowdsourced advancement of your cold calling strategy.
The scripting software is awesome. It allows you to visualize cold calling conversations in a complementary way to how they go, which is very turbulent. But the thing that was missing within the software was what to actually say, right? If you had your message all figured out, it's great. You could put that within the Sway platform and it'll work for you. But if you're at the beginning of your cold call journey, it's going to be really, really hard for you to figure out those bumps in the road and those best practices, which is why when we found each other, it made sense because you
Yeah.
have performed thousands and thousands of cold calls and figured out a framework and a structure and a philosophy around how to approach cold calls. And we have together created AI that can generate sales scripts within that methodology called the H stage method.
Mhm.
So, a combination of the right words to say with the right layout is doubles up on the revolutionary aspect of what we're doing here.
I think so. Can't wait for it. Thanks again, Matt. Another episode of Project Cast out to you now, and we will see you on Suede.
See ya, see ya.